Roswell. Our host Kayla Hodges had the night off. Tonight we're going to be discussing controversial issues of the Oscars. After hashtag #OscarsSoWhite started trending on Twitter, comments have been made all over television and social media about the lack of diversity among the nominations. Tonight we will shatter those comments with stupefying statistics here on The Exchange. In the top 4 categories for the Academy of Motion Pictures and Art Sciences announced its 2016 Oscar nominees. Only white actors and actresses were among the chosen few. For the second year in a row, which resulted in a resurgence of the social media hashtag #OscarsSoWhite, causing controversy and concern about diversity in Hollywood. The president of Directors Guild of America, Paris Barkley, weighed in on the #OscarsSoWhite discussion on Monday, claiming the lack of women and people of color in the movie and television business. He called for structural changes at Hollywood's gatekeepers level. President Barkley also stated, quote, "Many times with the best of intentions, a subject that is symptom of this industry plague, but not the root cause, is targeted. The Academy's decision are important actions and may lead to greater acknowledgement of more diversity films and people who make them," end quote. Now we will discuss what famous celebs are talking and saying about the Oscars and how they feel about the situation. The first video we have tonight is coming from comedian Eddie Murphy discussing the routine of the Oscars. Take a look.
Black actors and actresses that have won Oscars throughout 60 years was like, I think Hattie McDaniels won the first one, then Sidney Poitier won one, and Lou Gossett won one. And I'll probably never win an Oscar for saying this, but hey, what the hey, I gotta say it. Actually, I might not be in any trouble because the way it's been going is about every 20 years we get one, so we ain't due for about 2004, so by that time it's all blown over. I said I wasn't going, and my manager said, "You just have to go, you can't snub the Academy." So I came down here to give the award. I said, "But I just feel that we have to be recognized as a people. I just want you to know I'm gonna give this award, but black people will not ride the caboose of society, and we will not bring up the rear anymore. I want you to recognize us."
And next, let's see what actress Jada Pinkett Smith had to say about the Oscars.
Influence that we have amassed, that we no longer need to ask to be invited anywhere. I ask the question, have we now come to a new time and place where we recognize that we can no longer beg for the love, acknowledgement, or respect of any group? That maybe it's time that we recognize that if we love and respect and acknowledge ourselves in the way in which we are asking others to do, that is the place of true power. I'm simply asking the question. Here's what I believe. The Academy has the right to acknowledge whomever they choose, to invite whomever they choose. And now I think that it's our responsibility now to make the change. Maybe it is time that we pull back our resources and we put them back into our communities, into our programs, and we make programs for ourselves that acknowledge us in ways that we see fit.
Here with us tonight, we have Marissa Nichols. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Now, what is your take on the Eddie Murphy and what he had to say about the Oscars?
You know, I think just the fact that he was speaking on diversity in for the Oscars so long ago, many years ago, just goes to show that this problem has been here and it's stayed here and it really hasn't been solved, but no one's been speaking about it.
Right.
So, you know, people think this is just coming out of nowhere, but it's really just no one decided to talk about it until now.
Okay.
So I think that's interesting.
Right, it is very interesting. And what do you think about what Jada Pinkett had to say with her?
You know, I feel like she's a little bit biased just because her husband could have been nominated and he wasn't. And, you know, when the Black Lives Matters issue started and the protests started, they were completely all lives matter. And, you know, now they're making, but I do completely agree that there is a diversity problem, not just with, you know, between black and white, it's, you know, gender and age and all races.
Right.
So I do agree on that part.
Right, because I feel like her being a woman as well, she hasn't even been nominated as well, even with her husband. So, so I do appreciate you coming in with us for tonight.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be right back. Welcome back, and thanks for sticking with us. We now have a guest to talk with us about the Oscar White controversy. Here to talk about the issue is our senior correspondent, Jay Cox. Thank you so much, Jay, for being with us tonight.
Hello, Jack. It's just swell to be here. And first, let me just set the record straight. I don't believe there is any problem here. I just don't see what all the hubbub's about.
Well, Jay, this is the second year in a row that all leading and supporting actors have been nominated, and that hasn't happened since 1998. So what do you mean by there is no problem here?
I mean, there is no systematic problem here whatsoever. It's not just like a bunch of old white guys just control the entire thing. That would be ridiculous.
Well, Jay, that's mostly correct. Most of the Hollywood insiders, like the retired directors, reviewers, and producers.
Okay, but who's to say they're all the stereotype, old white males?
Okay, well, actually, the LA Times reported back in 2012 that 94% of the over 5,000 active voters were white and 77% were male, and so over 50% of those were age of 60. So,
well, that was in 2012. That was 10 years ago. Am I right? Right,
Jay.
Yeah,
Right, Jay. Why don't we actually talk about the movies and the nominees? Can we please talk about the actual situation that's going on hand here?
Sure, let's talk about the problem.
Okay, well, this entire situation is ridiculous since that 2015 was such a good year for African American. So, for example, Michael B. Jordan and his praising performance in Creed. So,
well, Shaq, to your credit, I do agree with you on that. It certainly was Mr. Michael Jordan's best performance since Space Jam. Loved it.
Not the basketball player, Jay. I'm actually talking about Michael B. Jordan, the actor.
Well, regardless, in my opinion, I say that Sylvester Stallone's performance was just a bit more moving and powerful than Mr. Michael B. Jordan's.
Well, I can say for the most part. Can you say at least any lines from the movie?
Oh, I'm glad you asked.
You see this guy staring back at you? That's your toughest opponent. I think that's true in the ring and in life.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. That scene always gets me.
Okay, come on. Wow. Let's admit we got more emotion out of Sylvester Stallone, so I can't say that we didn't, from the last 3 Rocky movies. But do you really think that was better than Michael B. Jordan's performance? It was incredible. I mean, it was the illegitimate son of Apollo Creed just doing what he does best, fight. And I mean, he has been doing this in his entire life. So not because he had to, but because he really had to, so.
Well, Shaq, that's still only one instance. And honestly, I thought that the actor that had more emotion was the one you needed subtitles to understand. But that's just my opinion.
Well, then what about John Boyega in Star Wars holding his own in a movie that had Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill in the end of on that island?
Hey. Spoiler alert.
Well, I do apologize. So, but I mean.
Well, I guess you can make a case for The Martian with Matt Damon, since technically he's not human. All those Martians always trying to get our...
Wait, Jay, Matt Damon is human. Did you even watch any of these movies, Jay?
I skimmed a review on Rotten Tomatoes for Room.
Seriously, Jay, you're our correspondent. You couldn't even watch any of the movies that were nominated.
Okay, but to my credit, did you watch Room?
Touche.
Well, Shaq, I think I know the perfect phrase to sum all of this up.
And that would be?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if it's horribly outdated,
yes.
That's it. It's just horribly outdated.
Our Oscar correspondent, Jay Cox, everyone. Next up, we have Lindsay and Julia with our social media sidebar segment. Julia and Lindsay.
Welcome to our social media segment. I'm one of your hosts, Julia, and this is my better half, Lindsay.
Hi, guys. Like she said, I'm your host, Lindsay. However, I don't know. I think you might be my better half, Julia. Well, we all know that the Oscars will be taking place soon, and following that, there's been much controversy.
So our question to our viewers this week was, which out of these 3 actors should have been nominated for the Oscars? John Boyega in Star Wars, Michael B. Jordan in Creed, or Will Smith in Concussion?
After taking a poll on Twitter, it seems like Michael B. Jordan won people over with 44% of the vote, John Boyega with 33% of the vote, and Will Smith with 23%.
However, Instagram and Facebook viewers are challenging the poll. Tara's on Facebook states Will Smith. Boyega isn't even close. Jordan was pretty good, but not good enough for a nomination. And Alexa agrees with Tara's posting. The Fresh Prince never dies.
Yet we can't forget Aaron, Michael B. Jordan's superfan, who comments, Jordan because he is sex appeal. That bod is amazing. I would like to touch his muscles. He.
Oh, Aaron. On the other hand, Instagrammer Rub-a-Dub-Dub doesn't seem to have much sympathy for this topic. He states, none of those roles portrayed by each of those actors, however good they actually were, top the ones nominated this year. Hashtag black, hashtag of, hashtag talent, hashtag get over it. Rub-a-dub-dub, you may have gotten a little confused. They were the ones not nominated this year. But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe spell check wasn't working.
Well, I'm not exactly sure what he was trying to say there, but I think we get the point that Rub-a-dub-dub just really doesn't care. But don't worry, Rub-a-dub-dub, you weren't the only one confused. Disaster Picasso votes Whoopi Goldberg. However, she wasn't even one of our three choices.
Well, in my opinion, I think Will Smith should have gotten nominated because not only does he put everything into his passion, but I believe that in the movie Concussion, he really did a good job at authenticizing his character as a doctor.
Yeah, and then before I even get into my opinion for that, I just think some of those names were funny, but Rub-a-dub-dub, Disaster Picasso, but I don't know, I would have to give it probably between Michael B. Jordan or Will Smith. They both did really good. I know Michael B. Jordan does have some nice abs, as Aaron commented earlier, but it's a tie between those for me. So they were both really, really good, but I don't know. Which I personally, I actually didn't. I'm a Trekkie. I didn't see Star Wars, but I still have to see that one. So I guess it doesn't give me I have to give a valid opinion on that.
Very nice. So that is all, Lindsay, and I have for you tonight.
Make sure to comment on our next week's topic. You can tweet us at The Exchange TV2, Instagram us at theexchange.tv2, and we are on Facebook.
And remember, your comment could be on air.
See you next time. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. And here with us is our fashion correspondent, Kim Anderson, and she's going to go a different route with the Oscars. She's going to talk about the forecasting and this upcoming Grammys fashion. What will the celebs wear on Monday, and who do you think will be there? Kim?
Well, although we've been talking about the Oscars all night, I thought I would go a little bit of a different way and talk about the Grammys tonight. So this is your fashion forecast. Now, the 58th Annual Grammy Awards are taking place this Monday, and like many of you, I too am curious as to what the artists are going to wear to music's biggest night. The nominees for Record of the Year include Really Love by D'Angelo and the Vanguard, Thinking Out Loud by Ed Sheeran, Uptown Funk by Mark Ronson featuring Bruno Mars, Blank Space by Taylor Swift, and Can't Feel My Face by The Weeknd. Now, this is not the first Grammy nomination for any of these artists, and each of them has their own individual style. Looking back at past years, we might have a good idea of what to expect. First on the radar is Ed Sheeran. Now, our favorite English ginger is known for his classic suit and ties on the red carpet, but last year took it to a modern level by just wearing a vest, tie, and white button-down, kind of matching his Thinking Out Loud music video. It's safe to say that we can expect him to bring more classic meets modern men's style. Next, we have the queen of 1989 herself, Taylor Swift. Now, her style has really evolved over time, from the days when she'd wear long, flowing, romantic princess-style gowns to last year's stunning, aqua-colored Ellie Saab gown. With every new album, she's changed her style, and I think this year we can expect to see her wearing a gown that will show off the modern, upbeat vibes from her album. And lastly, the man behind the madness, The Weeknd. This crooner really tries to stay simple with his fashion and let his hair do the talking. I expect this year will be no different. Now, last year was his first nomination for a song he was featured on, but this year it's all about his solo work, Beauty Behind the Madness. Maybe he'll step out and try something different given the focus on him. Well, that's all I have for this week. Who are you most excited to see at the Grammys? Tweet at The Exchange TV2. Back to you, Shaq.
Thank you so much, Kim. Now, Twitter rumbled and host Jimmy Kimmel created a segment on his late night show on January 20th in response to the calls for the Hollywood and Academy to diversity. Its ranks and the films gets recognition. Many on Twitter didn't find this amusing. And the sketch involved a supposed representative of the Academy introducing new marketing, casting, and tilting choices of the films nominated for the best, so to make them more diverse and appealing to African American audiences. The problem, you ask? The segment brought into a number of stereotypes. The Big Short became The Big Shawty, starring rapper Lil Bow Wow. Room became The Crib with Queen Latifah and Kevin Hart. And The Martian became The Martin with poster of actor Martin Lawrence's face with the words, "Bring homie home" over it. Now, Eric Jordan Dickey said on Twitter, quote, "Hollywood is one of the places you can be as racist as you want to be and write it off as art, freedom of expression, opinion, bottom line." After much debate on Twitter, Mr. Kimmel posted apologizing to all the fans he offended. Quote, "I do care was trying to poke fun at the film industry, not those it excludes. For offending those I intend to defend, I am sorry." End quote. Better luck next time, Jimmy. We asked exchange correspondent Braylon Lee about how he felt about the Oscars So White controversy. Braylon says in order for diversity to be a part of the ceremony, we need to change our viewing habits. Now, this is what he had to say.
Hey everybody, I'm Braylon Lee, and this is my take on the Oscars. I think that a lot of times we award movies that we're used to. So, for example, 12 Years a Slave, any movie that's about going backwards and not going forwards. I just wonder, why in the world does that happen? But then I start to think about it, and I start to think that, wait a minute, it just may be the people who are in charge of all these movie studios, because we only greenlight what we're used to. If it's about moving forward, then you rarely see those, like Annie, The Pursuit of Happiness. There's so many of them. Selma should have been nominated for an Oscar. For Best Picture, they won for Best Original Song, but I mean, really, come on. There was so many amazing people. There was Creed for Michael B. Jordan. There was, I'm trying to think, well, there's so many of them. And I think the biggest thing is that if we award something good, then it ruins, the fabric and all that stuff. And now the Academy has new rules for voting and all that, which is great, but I mean, this is the second year that the Oscars been white. So I'm just trying to figure out, why is that so? And I think it starts with us. I think we have to take responsibility for what we watch. Now, I'm not saying that we should go to the movie theater and say, "Ooh, I'm not watching that, I'm not watching that, I'm not watching that," just because it doesn't have a diverse cast in it. But what I am saying is that the movie industry responds to us. If it had been for us, there would not be a box office. There would not be any press to do these movies. So it's up to us. When Selma came out, everybody went to see it, and it related to so many people, but yet it did win an Oscar. There's a movie called Race with Jesse Owens that's coming out. And I'm really excited about that, to actually see Jesse Owens on the big screen. And in one of the TV commercials, Jesse Owens said, "Well, guess what? You're white. You don't have to worry about that. I'm black. I do." To see that on the big screen, nationwide, those are the movies that we need to start seeing. Movies that actually talk about real life, but that also have some meaning to it. 42, the story of Jackie Robinson. Why didn't that get an Oscar? It's all the good. It's all the stuff that we used to that gets the Oscar. So, like Precious, for example, Monique won her Oscar for being a mom who is not loving. I'm just trying to understand why this is the way it is. I mean, Annie with Jamie Foxx, and the first African American Annie, because we always saw the Annie that everybody knew. Daddy Warbucks was white, and that's all we knew. So we need people in charge, in power, to say that, hey, we've done that before, let's try something new. And I think once the executives understand that, then we'll get somewhere. But the executives won't do until we do. So we have to use our voice, we have to use our money and our influence to say, hey, guess what? We don't like this movie. And trust me, movie studios are very responsive. If they're not recouping their budget back in the box office, then guess what? They cut that. They don't do it again. So the movie industry has to respond to us. That's what they have to do, but a lot of times we respond to them. So all I'm saying is, when you go out to the movies, make sure that you know what you're watching, make sure it's diverse, and support the movie industry. It's a great, great industry. So many stories have been told through the platform of film, but we also need to be aware and support movies that do have diverse casts.
Big thanks to Braylon for that video. The Exchange will be right back after this. Thank you for joining us today on The Exchange. We hope we have educated you and that this pushes you to want to make a difference, no matter where you are. Stay tuned for next week's episode as on 9 p.m. right here on TV2. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at The Exchange TV2 and Instagram at theexchange.tv2 to be part of the conversation. I'm Shaquille Carswell. Good night, everybody.